Contrarians, welcome back to the Encrypted Capital Recap for October 28th. First off, let's take a look at the leaderboard here. Let me get rid of Ash. It's a piece of shit coin. Okay, speaking of piece of shit coins, Dogecoin up 11.7%. We also got a handful of others in the top 10. I don't know, up a handful of percentage points. So, as mentioned, Dogecoin, piece of shit coin. Definitely don't think it's going to be going anywhere now that Elon has taken over Twitter. If you guys are out of the loop here, closed the deal yesterday. Now, Musk is also going to be taking Twitter private, so we'll get into that here in a minute. Now, I wanted to point out something here. We had Musk SNL appearance. We all saw back in May. We put out in our newsletter that you guys should be exiting your positions at that time, since that was a max hype event. And now, coincidentally enough, after an accumulation period of 141 days with $9.6 billion in volume, Musk has now acquired Twitter. So can you see, do you think that this is an accident? Do you see the correlation here? I do. Okay, get the public in at the top, Musk going on SNL, dump on retail and everybody else, send it into a bear market. You have a good solid 4 months, almost 5 months of accumulating the bottom here at a range between 4.7 cents and we'll just say 7 or 8 cents, okay? $9 billion dumped into the market. Now Musk acquires Twitter at the very end. Prices go up. And you guys know, if you've been following this channel, that we like to accumulate assets when they're flat. Well, Doge, like many other assets, have been flat, like I said, for about 5 months now. So while no one's talking about it, people are accumulating. So imagine being in Musk's inner circle and knowing what's about to take place and being able to accumulate an asset with definitive certainty that a deal is going to go through. Now, if you've been paying attention to the news, you probably could have figured that out for yourself. So point being, lots of time for accumulation, and now we've seen Dogecoin up, I believe, 40, 50, I think it's higher than that, 40, 50% or more at this point. So having all that money in the market, I mean, that's probably Elon buying up a good chunk of people's fear, as the last time he really talked about it, it was trading at 80 cents and it went all the way back down to 4. So that's how the game works. That's how the game's played. If you guys know this, you can take advantage of these things. Now, going back into Elon Musk and his Twitter acquisition, the New York Stock Exchange has delisted Twitter shares following the acquisition. The shareholders will receive $54.20 per share on their holdings as part of the deal. So normally when this happens, shareholders are paid a premium. And if you were holding Twitter at this time, any Twitter stock, it would basically just be like you sold Twitter stock to them and you would have the money in your account within, I don't know, a few weeks to a month. So that's how that works. Anybody who owned Twitter, you basically got bought out of your shares. Company is going private, and now what will take place is that number one, I'm sure Musk will save huge in fees because he's been fined I don't know how many times about just joking on Twitter about doing things. In one instance, he was fined $40 million for just joking about taking Tesla private. And again, we talk about whipsawing prices back and forth and making money on the way up and on the way down. If you want to float out a joke that would panic shareholders and you had sell orders in and you were selling short the stock, you'd be able to make an absolute killing. And if you guys have watched Wolf of Wall Street, there's ways of getting around that. It's called rat holes. Basically, other people doing the trading for you. You break them off a piece. You let them know the information, and they're actually trading it on their own personal accounts. Obviously, Elon couldn't go trade this personally. There's SEC regulations against that. But like Wolf of Wall Street, like Jordan, what's his name? Whatever the hell his name is, Belfort. That's how you would execute something like that. So imagine having so much pull and being able to ragdoll price back and forth by supposedly just joking about taking a company private. I'm sure the fine that he got hit, $40 million, was a drop in the bucket compared to what he actually made from doing something like that, and not to mention the amount of money that he made all his friends doing something like that. You guys got to think like these guys. Okay, this is like taking candy from a baby. You write a 30 character tweet and you make 30 million, 300 million, who knows how many billions of dollars potentially by doing something like that. It's pretty intriguing. It's part of being in the big boys club. It's all speculation, but like I said, that's how I would play it if I was an evil asshole. Now, Twitter's share price was $53.70 at the market close. Like I said, Musk's favored cryptocurrency Doge, which he suggested could be used for certain payments at Twitter, was trading down 2.3% after rising 16%. So I still think that if you wanted to buy Doge, you'd still be buying obviously very close to the bottom. I mean, if we go ahead and take a look here, you're probably at what, 80 something percent decrease at the low, if not more, 90, 94% decrease. Pretty interesting. So even now, if we were to go and see where you're actually at, if you even didn't buy the bottom, if you just bought now, you'd still be buying at an 89.1% discount from the high. So if you are interested in Doge, which shit, I might even convince myself to buy some at this point, just for the simple fact that Musk just picked up Twitter and he's probably going to float out some more dumbass tweets to increase the price even more. So what else do we got here? We got Fed's preferred inflation gauge rises less than expected, and Bitcoin did rise because of that. Bitcoin pops after US PCE price index comes in slightly lower for September than predicted by economists. So I tend to think that we'll have some other more favorable economic news come out that could potentially push the price of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies to the upside, because Bitcoin did get a quick boost early this morning after a U.S. government report showed that the inflation gauge monitored by the Fed rose a lot slower than it was estimated last month. So it increased 0.3% during the month, slowing from August 4.4%. So the price of Bitcoin on that news jumped more than $150 in just minutes after that report. So some of the gains had already faded by press time, so we'll have to kind of see how this plays out going into the weekend. Obviously, on the weekend, there's going to be a lot less trading volume, a lot less liquidity. So we'll see if Bitcoin keeps up the movements or if it maybe just stalls out a little bit. Now, other thing I wanted to note here, when we were talking about the Fed and this article, which I kind of just skipped over, but I want to point this out because I think it's important. So this article was how the government could come for your Bitcoin. And this was written 11 hours ago. It says, what does the path to hyper-Bitcoinization look like when governments worldwide start to notice their citizens adopting Bitcoin? Well, one of those things is they're going to start taxing it, right? Look at these guys. These guys are going to be coming for your money. This is like out of some freaking sci-fi thriller. The main thing here, obviously, was stealing from the middle class, right? So they want you to report your capital gains. So capital gains, sure, right? That's normal. We're considering a tax on unrealized gains. How crazy does that sound? Do you understand what that means? Unrealized gains. You didn't even sell your Bitcoin yet. Let's just say you're up a couple $1 million, but you haven't sold it yet. Well, they're still going to want you to pay taxes on your gains, even though you actually haven't cashed out yet. It says Biden's tax on unrealized gains will hit far more taxpayers than he claims. It says President Biden and the Democrats say they want to make the rich pay their fair share. Their solution is a mass transformation of the tax system to levy an annual tax on unrealized gains of assets like stock, real estate, and collectibles. So Bitcoin would be included in that. This would impose the 20% tax on taxpayers with income and assets that exceed $100 million, which would be a $360 billion tax increase. So currently, taxpayers only pay capital gains like we just talked about, but this plan would create a mark-to-market regime, forcing Americans to pay taxes every year on the gain in the value of assets like stocks, collectibles, and real estates. So in order to enforce this tax, here's the scary part. The IRS would have to be given vast new powers to value the assets of taxpayers. This would be an extremely invasive and difficult task. The agency would have to keep detailed lists of assets of items like jewelry, art, baseball cards, and more. With the IRS's history of discrimination and malpractice, it should be concerning to have agents collect this information. In case of a leak, which happens often at the IRS, taxpayers could be subject to burglary or at the very least a gross invasion of privacy. Sounds right up their alley, doesn't it? There would also be significant compliance and administrative issues with this tax, since many assets could not be easily valued. So they would need to hire armies of accountants and lawyers to determine valuations. And if we recall, didn't Biden just bump up the amount of IRS agents to like 80,000? Okay? Pretty fucking scary if you ask me. To be able to execute something like this seems very, very unconstitutional. Now, I don't know. We'll have to see if this actually happens. This is pretty fucking crazy. It says further, the Biden tax is likely unconstitutional. Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution bars the federal government from imposing direct taxes unless they are apportioned. Think of anything in your life that is not taxed. Basically, everything is at this point. It's fucking ridiculous. So, something I just wanted to point out for you guys to be aware of, right? Hide your money, hide your wife, or at least hide your money, because they will be coming for it, for sure. Cash App users can now send and receive Bitcoin via Lightning. This just came out. I've been talking about Bitcoin being a slow-ass technology, and with the Lightning Network being utilized by more and more companies, this would add a little bit more validation to it being more than just a store of value. Basically, the layer that would go upon the layer 1 of Bitcoin would be able to speed up transactions and actually make it fairly useful for somewhat small transactions. So as mentioned, the Lightning Network is a second layer solution. It works to speed up the Bitcoin transactions so the crypto can be used to make smaller purchases. Only thing is that you're still paying transaction costs, but it will reduce those and it will make it a lot more quicker, right? So it says the Cash App, there's typically little to no fees involved. It's used to send smaller amounts of Bitcoin, and there's a $999 limit every 7 days with the Lightning integration, according to the site. So normally to set up a Lightning Network, you have to do it yourself. It's almost like creating like your own like payment lane versus using like a congested traffic highway. You're able to sidestep this with your own lane and be able to execute your transactions a lot faster, because normally when the network in Bitcoin gets really busy, that's when you're gonna be paying higher fees. We also see this with Ethereum too. If you're trying to buy something and the network is really busy, you could see the price drop drastically, like let's say on the weekends when there's not a lot of liquidity, a lot of businesses are closed. You're not going to be having a ton of transactions taking place on the network. The Lightning Network definitely bumps up and makes Bitcoin quite a bit faster here. So it says the app is only available in the US and UK, but boasts 44 million monthly users. So that's good. If Lightning integration keeps taking place on other businesses, other platforms, that'll obviously be good for Bitcoin as a whole. And this is the type of stuff I'm talking about, where more and more people adopt a Lightning style network for Bitcoin. Only thing is that if you go and look at this guide to saving on Bitcoin's high transaction fees back in February of 2021, so last year, the average Bitcoin transaction fee was $23, right? So if you weren't using the Lightning Network and you're trying to buy something, let's say it was $40, well, it really wouldn't make much sense, right? You're paying a 50% markup just for the transaction to go through, right? Pretty insane. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. It kind of breaks down how the high fees emerge. Again, we talked about like a traffic jam. Transactions move more slowly when there's a lot of the lanes being filled. The Lightning Network speeds that up. So What you could do is wait it out, right? So while you'd normally be paying $25, you can get that down to 11 if you're running it in the slowest way possible. But sometimes if you put it too slow, you might not even get filled with your transaction going through. It could just get stuck or take a very long time. So there are wallets that you can use that will let you adjust how fast, and they'll make suggestions on if you want to do low speed, send it this much. If you want to do medium speed or fast, it'll tell you how much you're going to be paying in transaction fees, so you can adjust it accordingly. So yeah, so that's that. I found this, thought it might be interesting for the newcomers if you guys are unaware of how this kind of works on the Bitcoin network. And I think we're going to keep it a shorter video today. It is Friday, so enjoy the weekend. We'll be monitoring the price. We'll be sending out updates if there are any to our members on the newsletter. Link in the description below. If you guys like the video, please drop a like, comment, and subscribe. I'll catch you all in the next video.